everybody. I would like to call to order the Minnesota Senate Committee on, sorry about that, on Education Finance. It's Tuesday, January 28th, 2024 and 25. And it is about 8:35 this morning. I want to first welcome the House high school pages that are here visiting us. We have them in the front row, and congratulations on not only joining the House as a page, but thank you for taking the time to fill out that application, have that interest, and then participate. I served in the House for 4 years. Senator Rarick served in the House. Who else on this place? I think we're the only two. Oh, and Senator Mayquade. The three of us were all House members, so we understand the significance of the work that all of you do. So thanks for bringing them over, and I hope you have a really good experience. It's a unique session, so you'll have lots to talk about in the future. Let's see, today we are going to be hearing updates from two of the items that were passed in 2024 in our education finance bill that works to address chronic absenteeism in our schools. We spent a lot of time last year hearing about it, learning about it, and then spent this summer, I sat on the committee that was the pilot not the pilot project, but the committee to look into that. And so I'm really excited to have the presentations from Minneapolis, Columbia Heights, Chisholm, and Rochester. They were all members of the student attendance pilot program. And then Nick Negro from the LLC will then share the student attendance and truancy legislative study group report. And then we're going to end with a bill from Senator Weber. Last week was National Para Week, and I just want to give a shout out to all of the educational assistants and paras that really are kind of like the bones of our school system. Without them doing the work that they do in the classroom, outside of the classroom, working with teachers and administration to make sure that the districts run really smoothly as best they can. I know we couldn't do it, and as a teacher, I interacted with paras and educational assistants every day, all day long. And the work that they do is to be commended, and we are eternally thankful for that. So with that, I think we're going to begin with a presentation from the members of the Student Attendance Pilot Program, and we will start with Karen Cable. Pardon? Oh, excuse me, Colleen Cable, please come to the front, and when you do, will you please introduce yourself, and then you can begin.
Good morning. I'm Colleen Cable with Minneapolis Public Schools, where I'm the Director of Student Retention and Recovery, and I'm going to give you an overview of the work of the attendance pilots, but Minneapolis is very excited to be one of the attendance pilot districts, and I can answer any questions if you have any about our implementation or use of the funds. So the 12 attendance pilot districts first convened on July 29th, and we continue to meet monthly. Districts were first tasked with reviewing their attendance codes, definitions, attendance data, and districts also reviewed current responses to chronic absenteeism to generate ideas to build new strategies and goals with attendance pilot funding. Common challenges were found in responding to chronic absenteeism. These challenges include inconsistencies in coding, tracking, and responding to absences, inefficient or lack of communication channels with families, difficulty in identifying and providing interventions across all tiers, especially for students who are most chronically absent, and unpredictable application of responses to absences. Districts with online schools identified additional obstacles in defining absences and coding that vary from in-person learning and are more difficult to resolve. A review was done to identify the amount of learning time absent each pilot district counts toward a student being a full or partial day absent. The discovery was made upon review of this data that some districts are coding differently internally, allowing each school within a district to make their own determination on coding and counting absences. All districts expressed value in having a statewide definition to determine what amount of time absent converts to a full or partial day absent, what amount of time is considered a tardy or absent in a period, and a clear definition of absence codes that are exempt. Pilot districts will continue to explore the coding and counting of absences after each district has time for correction of internal counting and coding procedures. This will include recommending manageable coding definitions and counting guidelines that allow comparable data between schools and districts statewide. Additional attendance coding needs identified by the districts include an option to not withdraw students who are absent for 15 consecutive days until schools can ensure all outreach and interventions have been exhausted, and real-time internal dashboards, data dashboards, to monitor attendance for all school districts. Not all districts have early warning systems to quickly identify chronically absent students. Districts reported that they found positive impact when school staff focused on early intervention, prevention, and personalized positive outreach to families, even over a short period of time. Some of the shared strategies across pilot districts include mentoring and success coaches for students. Mentors identified for the pilot include existing staff, newly employed mentors, and partnerships with the Minnesota Alliance with Youth for AmeriCorps Promise Fellows. A focus on communication with families, the identification of messaging techniques that communicate the relevance of attendance, including text messaging, nudge letters, and linguistically appropriate messaging. Home visits done by family navigators, student engagement specialists, and student support staff, and the inclusion of student voice with student-led attendance teams and surveys. Also, community partnerships built with county, tribal, and city agencies and local nonprofits. We're working to increase family engagement with surveys, personal outreach, and family engagement specialists, bringing in mental health supports that include both external and internal partnerships, and the alignment of attendance procedures, coding, and policies. To provide more about the individual goals and strategies of pilot districts, we have representatives from Columbia Heights, Chisholm, and Rochester here to share with us. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next, we will hear from Bondo Niembwe from Columbia Heights Public Schools. You can introduce yourself, please, and begin.
Good morning. Can you guys hear me?
Yep, we hear you well.
My name is Bondo Niembwe, and I am the Assistant Superintendent for Columbia Heights Public Schools. I was told I have 10 minutes, so I'm going to start my timer, make sure that I stay on time. Next, please. So, our core values in Columbia, can you go back one? In Columbia, we go by core values, and we have 6 core values, and they will all be represented in my presentation. Next, please. Our mission in Columbia Heights Public Schools is creating a world of opportunity for each and every learner. All belong and all succeed. I've provided some demographic data about our district, and the ones that I want to highlight is that we have about 80% free and reduced lunch students, and we have about 50% who are Hispanic students, and we're very diverse, as small as we are. Next, please. So, in this attendance pilot project, we have one goal. And our goal is to increase the percentage of students who are consistently attending school from 68% in 2024 to about 80% in 2026. Why 68%? Pre-pandemic, we were at 68%, and last year we were at about 71% as a district. And so the goal is to increase it to 80%. And throughout my presentation, what you'll see, the thread that I'm sharing is about a focus on communication, education, and humanizing. And that's the approach that we're taking in this attendance pilot project. Next, please. So with one goal, we have 5 strategies, and those strategies are to increase communication about attendance using various platforms, to establish an attendance team at each school site, and to increase a sense of belonging for students to prevent chronic absenteeism, to implement a nudge letter, and then number 5, it's to establish a 6 a.m. health line for parent or guardian to call if their child is sick. So strategy number 1, increasing communication using different platforms. You can see my presentation is color-coded in 3 colors. The green is things that we've already done, and in the orange, those are things that we have yet to implement or we're in the middle of implementing. So communication is key if we're going to make a change in attendance, and we are using things like using the school marquee to post messages about attendance. Principals are communicating in their weekly emails, reminding teachers and families the importance of attendance. Our own communication department is also sending messages to families so that they can see and value attendance. Those are things that we've done. We also believe that continuing to communicate in various languages to parents about the importance of attendance makes a difference for their children. And then we're also sending all calls to families, reminding them that attendance matters. Next, please. Strategy number 2. This is the strategy that I believe and we believe in our district that will make the most difference. Because at each school, there is an attendance team which is made up with the principal, social worker, some staff members, as well as attendance clerk. And their job is to set a goal for their own school and be able to engage in weekly data review or biweekly data review to ensure that we know what's happening, who's absent, who's present, who's going to be chronically absent, and what we're going to do about it. And we're 5 months into this, and every one of our 5 schools has an attendance team that's functionally working. And you see that on this slide, there is a purple slide. We just started quarter 3. During this quarter 3, we decided to focus on looking at the data from quarter 1 and quarter 2 to do a deep dive into a root cause analysis. What are the reasons why our students are absent this year? Don't look at data from 2 years ago, 3 years ago. Focus on this year's data and then create some interventions. Next slide, please. Strategy, this is an example of a postcard. At the end of every quarter, students with 5 or more absences receive this postcard. We believe that it's important for parents to receive communication, not just electronically, but on paper, showing them if their child has been absent 5 or more times in school. And so that's the example of the postcard that is sent at the end of every quarter. Next, please. So strategy number 3, increasing a sense of belonging for students to prevent chronic absenteeism. We believe that students need structure, and part of that structure is engaging, not just through communication, but interacting with them in school, interacting with their parents to ensure that we are also learning from their experiences. I am pleased to say that we've partnered with the Minnesota Alliance with Youth, and for our secondary schools, we have 2 Promise Fellows at the high school and 2 Promise Fellows at the middle school. And those Promise Fellows have each 15 to 20 students that they are consistently working with to help them, to motivate them, to understand their story, and to be able to see progress by the end of the year. And so, not only that, but we've also engaged all of our staff. At all of our schools, we have a concept we introduced this year that we call Take 5. Each of our licensed staff has 5 students that they're following up on. And every non-licensed staff has about 3 students that they're following up on to encourage, to find out more about them, and to guide them in their pathway and make sure that they're showing up at school. Next slide, please. So strategy number 4 is the nudge letter. The concept of the nudge letter is more communication with parents with additional detail and providing some level of support to what they can do to support their children. And so this one has not yet been implemented because we're not into the business of just rushing into things. And so we're taking our time to see the effectiveness of the postcards and the other communication that we've established in quarter 1 and 2. And so my goal is that we will see the nudge letter being implemented either during 3rd quarter or 4th quarter. Next slide, please. So strategy number 5 is one that is new because you guys have allowed us to be innovative. So we have contracted with one of our nurses to start a health line. We found out that sometimes parents make the decision to not send their children because they're informed or misinformed. And so the purpose of the health line is for parents to call between 6 and 7 to ask and talk to a health professional who will give them guidance whether they should or should not send their child to school. And so I believe by next week we're going to launch this health line because we have everything established, and I hope that at some future point I'll provide more update. Next slide, please. So how are we using the funds that have been given to us? We're using the funds to hire Promise Fellows. As I said before, we have 4 of them. We are providing some stipends for our homeschool liaison who are going to students' homes to be able to have conversation on their turf. We're also training homeschool liaison to become well-informed, to engage with not only students from one group, but all of our students. We've also entered into a contract with Talking Point. Talking Point is a platform where you can text in English, but parents who speak another language receive the message in their language, and they can text in their language, and the teachers receive that message in English. As I said, the 5 students who are assigned to every licensed staff in the secondary programs, they're able to text. They don't even call. It seems to be that the research indicates that parents are into texting more versus talking or reading. And so we're also investing in some marketing materials because I say that we are in the process of educating, communicating, and humanizing. And we found out through our own small focus group that some students or some families don't even know the number to call when their student is sick. And so we're going to provide some magnets that they will have on their fridge so that there will not be a problem as to where to call or what to do when they need to contact the school. Next slide, please. So what impact have we had in 5 months? We've seen that with the implementation of the attendance team at each school, communication has improved. We've also seen that parents are more aware of the attendance expectation, and we've seen some improvement into that. Students who have been referred for truancy at this point, which was a smaller number than last year at this point, have already received the services. And then staff involvement to support attendance initiative has increased because we have Promise Fellows, because we've created an attendance team at our schools, and we're seeing adults engaging in this work. And as I said in closing, we believe that even after the 3 years of the grant, the implementation of the attendance team is a sustainable strategy because those are people we already employ in the school, and we just gave them clear direction on what to do. And this concludes my presentation, and I'll take any questions.
Thank you so much, Assistant Superintendent. Senator Rarick, did you have a question?
Thank you, Madam Chair. When you're talking about your communication with the families, I think a lot of us see things too, no matter how much money we're putting into a program or into a school or how good the teachers are, if when the student goes home, there isn't that belief or support that the education is important, that's going to have an impact. Is part of that communication with the families trying to stress that importance of the high school education for their future? Or what exactly are you communicating with the families to help get the student into the class?
Assistant Superintendent, go ahead.
Thank you. That's a great question. So we believe that if students are going to be successful, they have to show up first. And if they show up to school, what else are we doing to ensure that their learning is meaningful? So at the elementary level, we provide a progress report for parents. Not a report card, a progress report. But when we meet with them, we explain to them what the goals of the students are and the expectations for learning. In addition to that, this is paired up with our family engagement process. So we have various activities at school. When they come, we help them to see and understand the importance of providing a safe space for their child at home to do the homework. Working with our homeschool liaison, we offer monthly onboarding meetings to help parents understand what the school is asking and how to support their children. And we do those family onboarding meetings in English, in Spanish, and in other languages. And so the goal of attendance is not just limited to come to school, but we've also demonstrated that tutoring is important. Here's what we're offering, and having your child participate in after-school programs that we have in our school is essential as well.
Thank you. Well, anyone else? Oh, Senator?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for the testimony. On your last slide, you said students have been referred for truancy have decreased in quarter one. I'm just wondering, do you have the statistics, like how much of a decrease in numbers or percentages on that?
Excellent. So the impact is not significant because I actually had some data, but I removed that. I will be happy to provide some data on that either at the end of the year or after quarter three.
Follow up?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. And then something that I was also wondering, so you say they're not referred for truancy. Is that a result of students attending more, or is it because there's other sort of diversionary programs so that they're not getting involved with criminal justice type of side? Is there, I mean, I'm just wondering what the components are. Of course, I'm hoping that it's that they're not truant, but these other methods might also be effective.
Excellent. That's a very good question. So in my opening slide, I had the tagline, educate, communicate, and humanize. And so one of the processes that we've put in place with all the adults who are working with children is seeking to understand the reasons why students are not coming to school, as opposed to rushing and wanting to tally up the absences and then refer them for truancy. So by adults engaging in intentional conversation and providing support, we've been able to identify some areas of need, and by responding to those needs, the students are able to be in school. That's number one. The second one is that we've also learned in our past work that when we refer students to the county, they weren't necessarily getting the services that we were asking for. And so we've decided locally to pay more attention to the needs and looking at the root causes so that we can use resources that we have available through the pilot project, funding that has been provided, as well as other funds that we already had through the social worker grants to support our families. And in doing that, we're finding out that the human touch is paying more dividend in terms of students feeling connected and showing up in school and wanting to be there.
One more? Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And my next question is not just for you, but it's for all of the testifiers. So if you're in the room or if you're listening on Zoom, please try and address this question. One of the things that we learned on the truancy working group was that a lot of schools count truancy, they count absences or tardies different. And so I just kind of want to hear from all of the schools that are testifying today, how do you count absence? Is it if a student is gone for 2 hours, they're absent, they're counted as absence for the whole day? And this isn't to make a judgment on your system, but it's just kind of to get an idea of how different students are being counted as absent or as tardy, because I know that there's a pretty big discrepancy. And that's my last question. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Excellent. So in statute, in our attendance policy, we differentiate elementary versus secondary. And so for secondary students, when they miss more than 3 periods in one day, it counts as an absent. And so when you get to 7 of those absences, then you become truant. And we have a process by which we communicate with families by sending a 3-day letter, a 5-day letter, and then a 7-day letter before we file for truancy in the secondary. And then in the elementary schools is when you're absent for the day when we count you absent.
Got it? Thank you. Any other questions? Senator Lang.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for the information in the handout here, Mr. Nimbahwe. I'm looking at strategy number 2, and you talked about Q3 focus as like getting to the root causes of attendance problems. And you talked about going to 24, 25 data. Obviously, we're halfway through that. And I'm assuming that leading up to this, this slide or this interpretation is the fact that, we went through a COVID, realistically a shutdown and a remote style of learning for, 2 years. So is there from your vantage point, is there something as far as root causes go that's the number one reason now post-COVID?
Which one being the number one reason?
Excuse me?
Which one being the number one reason?
No, I'm asking, what is your number one reason for failure of kids to show up to school or truancy problems? If it isn't COVID or the continuing after effects of that, then what are we looking at is kind of the question I'm going to be asking. And I probably should ask that of everybody, but maybe it's different for school to school.
Excellent question. So from the research post-COVID, we know that the number one reason that we've seen in our district has been medical or illness. So when we look at our coding, that's what has shown up the most at the elementary level as well as the secondary level. And so our approach now is to say, that's valid data. And so this is a new year, 2024-25, 2 years after COVID. After one quarter and after 2 quarters of teaching, 5 months later, let's look back at our data, comb through it, and be able to identify if there are other root causes. Because we believe that some of the causes can be mitigated internally, and then some other causes will require us to reach out to other organizations outside of the school. And that's the work that we're doing right now. This does not mean that we haven't been looking at the data. They've been looking at data weekly and biweekly, but we're asking to focus more and identify reasons so that we can create interventions rather than actions. Because the intervention will fix the problem and the action will pacify the problem.
Thank you for that answer. And Madam Chair, I guess then, you can't control illness. That's something that's outside of your control. So if that's your number one cause, maybe I should be asking what's the number 2 cause of absenteeism? Something that maybe the schools can control or at least have some effect on. So
in our school district, when we've looked at the data, transportation was one of the issues. Because there is, with transportation, there are those who live within the transportation zone or outside the transportation zone, but we're also able to see that some of it was our own buses. So not having enough drivers, or when drivers are late, students are coming late to school. And so what do we do with that when those reasons come up? I can tell that in our district, we did not penalize the student because of transportation, because that's something that we had to fix.
Senator Westland, you have a question.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you so much for the information today. So trying to connect some dots here. So it sounds like the number one reason is potentially medical and illness. And is the intention of having the nurse line available in the morning to parents to help them decide, maybe parents are keeping students from home, where if they had some guidance from a nurse, the intention is that maybe there would be a determination that the child could go to school rather than be kept at home. Is that one of the interventions you're hoping with the nurse line?
You are correct.
Great, thank you. And Senator McQuaid.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thinking about the rate of illness, does the school ever get information from the CDC or from the FDA on, viral outbreaks that are happening in communities or in states or in regions? And has that been impacted by the complete ban on public communication from our health agencies at the federal level?
Excellent question. So in each of our schools, we have nurses, and those nurses received information that is communicated to the families in the principal's weekly communication. And so when there are outbreaks, we do communicate that information to our families. And what we've seen is that with what was allowed during the pandemic, staying at home, some families have really taken that to heart, and it's a comforting thing to keep their child home until they're well before they come. And we are sharing with them that you can contact the school and let us help you decide, because missing school is affecting your child's progress academically.
Thank you.
Oh, Madam Chair.
Oh, you can follow up?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. And that makes perfect sense. I think, I have a toddler, and so she goes to school more now than she did when she was a baby, when we were a little bit more concerned. But for the weekly communications from the principals to the nurses, how is that health information getting to school districts? Are we just relying on the Department of Health and the state now, since the Department of Health at the federal level can't communicate at all publicly? They can't send out anything about recalls, they can't send anything about viral outbreaks, they're not communicating with each other. And I guess my concern is that the information that we've been previously getting is now not available, and I'm wondering if that's having an impact on your communication with families or your ability to communicate relevant health info to families.
So, like all other districts, principals have a principal group, nurses have a nurse group, social worker has a nurse group. So when the nurses meet with their groups and other districts, some information is being shared, and that information often gets back to our district, and it's previewed to the cabinet, and then we're able to make decisions about what to share and how to share it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Senator Kruin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm just following up on Senator Lang's question about, you mentioned the number 2 reason being transportation for absenteeism, and how you don't hold transportation issues against the students in terms of being truant. And I guess I was a little confused, because I'm not sure if I understood whether it's the buses running late or kids not making it in time to the bus stop, or are we talking about kids that open enroll that are on their own for transportation? Can you help me understand that better? Thanks.
Thank you for asking for clarification. So we have clear policy and guideline around attendance. The comment I made was, when the bus is late coming to school or picking up students because there wasn't enough drivers, we hold the student harmless. When students are late to school because the car broke down, that is not an excuse reason. So those ones are counted as absent or tardy.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thanks for that clarification. I appreciate it. But when you say transportation is the number 2 reason, I'm assuming you're not talking about the buses running late and the situations where you hold your students harmless. I know buses do run late. I was on a school board myself. You hear about it when that happens. But that to me, that wouldn't rise to the level of being the number 2 reason. So I'm assuming you're talking about some of those other transportation reasons, like kids not making it to the bus stop on time or not making it to school some other ways. But if you could confirm that, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, so when we talk about transportation, it's multifaceted. So during the winter, we see an increase in absences because when it's cold, some parents keep their student home because it's too cold to walk. And for us, it's not okay because you still have to come to school even when the weather is cold. And in some cases, it's parents who call in and say, my child is not coming in because we can't get them to school. Okay, it's a barrier, but school is in session and you have to come there. So those are some of the reasons that they mention, and that's why it rises to the top.
All right, I think we are going to move on. Thank you so much, Assistant Superintendent Niambwe, and we will call up next Superintendent Morrison, who is here from our Chisholm schools. They are online. Superintendent, if you would like to introduce yourself, and you can begin.
Hi, well, first of all, thank you for having me. I did submit I have a short presentation just because I was online, so I don't know if the committee has it. I can share my screen here. I got multiple screens, so I don't know if it's gonna work so well.
We also have paper copies if,
Do they? Okay. I just lost.
does everybody have a copy? Okay.
Perfect, okay, I'll get started. I'll try to be brief. First of all, what I do want to mention is I do want to thank the legislation for allowing us to take quick action on this. When I was informed of this early in the summer that this was a possibility, typically it takes a little bit longer to be able to make decisions, but the funding for these pilot programs were funded into our bank account in I want to say late July. What that allowed us to do is to make quick decisions. We weren't fumbling through what should we do. I kind of had an idea what we needed to do. As I've been a principal in Chisholm for 10 years, and this is my second year now as superintendent, so I kind of knew what we needed. In a small school of 630 some kids, we have 2 principals. We wear a lot of hats, and one of them was the attendance. And I always felt like that while as a principal I was working on attendance, I probably didn't give it enough due diligence just because of the fact that we have many other things that we're doing. So we decided to hire an attendance coordinator with the funding that we received. And her name is Ryan Bennett, and she's not here today. She's got something going on, but I was going to present for her. So with that, we decided that we could really have one person focus on attendance strictly. Because in the past, like I said, I would call the parents, I would send out the letters, I would hold meetings with them, and we would do planning meetings with the county prior to getting to actual truancy referrals and things like that. But I felt like we needed somebody to specifically take on this task with that task only for our K-12 buildings. And keep in mind, we have 630 kids at Chisholm, but we do have 3 buildings. So what we've done is we decided to set some structural goals. We wanted to align our MTSS structure initiatives with biweekly attendance data meetings to discuss interventions. So we didn't do this before. What I used to do as a principal is I would just pull the attendance every couple of weeks, check on it, try to meet with some kids. The results of this is all 3 buildings now hold regular attendance meetings bi-weekly, where they track the attendance, and then they try to, or I shouldn't say try to, they do interventions with each student. It might be something, I have several examples, I'll try to make this quick, but it might be something that our dean of students meets with one person, with a student once a week to check in on how they're doing. They maybe make a phone call home to see what are the barriers that are holding them from getting to school and things like that. The second thing we looked at is attendance tracking. We wanted to make sure we're tracking attendance with accuracy. We wanted to get consistency in the definition of absences and tardies along with daily accuracy checks. I'll give you one quick example of what might happen at the high school level. A teacher takes attendance. A student walks in 2 minutes late because they had to use the bathroom. The teacher's already they've already taken attendance, they're in the middle of teaching. For them to go back to their desk, redo attendance, can be sometimes a disruption to the educational process. So what happens is, and that's just one example of things that happen, but what happens is that doesn't go get fixed, and long story short, our attendance is not always accurate. So we have a person that's actually doing daily accuracy checks to make sure that we are doing it correctly and properly. There's also the coding issue. So there's, for example, we have like 70 kids on our track team between the boys and girls out of about 330 high school kids. That's almost 20% of our kids are on the track team. If they have an all-day track meet in the spring, they get marked absent. Of course, they're excused, but we needed to make sure that we coded that as a school event so that we don't have 70 kids being counted as absence, which counts against us, if that makes sense too. So there's a lot of little things like that that we're trying to clean up on our end. And then the last thing is just accountability. We want to make sure that we're following procedures of not only marking kids' absence, whether they're excused or unexcused, whether we want to communicate with families what are excused absence, what are unexcused absences, and then follow through with county services. There's a lot of services available up in St. Louis County that we want to make sure parents are aware of. So the results of that are, I've already mentioned, bi-weekly meetings to share data on student attendance, create supports for those students that need it. And then one of the things I do know is we will need more time to accumulate data to gauge results. I do have some overall attendance percentages that have gone up slightly since last year to share with you at the very end. But we will need a full year to see how the actual results are, how it's all going. And the last slide I have a lot of information on these, just a couple of slides. We've had our person, Ryan Bennett, he has made attendance plans where they set goals with students. They check in with these students as often as they need to. Sometimes it's daily, sometimes it's weekly. Just depends on the students. They're working specifically with families. What are the barriers to prevent them from coming to school? Sometimes we do alternative transportation. We're looking at I know, for example, we have 2 kids at the high school level. When I go to the high school in the morning and walk the halls, they come in 10 to 15 minutes late every day. So we try to work with those kids. Can we get you an alarm clock? Can we send a Suburban to go pick you up? At the same time, I'm a believer that we don't want to enable that either. But we try to work with each individual student. We're small enough that we can do that for the most part and try to find the barriers and what can we do to support you so that you're here. And then the other thing is just communicating with families on student progress. You know, if we send out an attendance letter in the past that your student has missed 3 days unexcused, sometimes there might be a lack of follow-through. Now that we have a person dedicated solely to attendance, we'll send out that letter, but then it's followed up with a phone call maybe a few days later. I've mentioned this already. We're trying to recognize barriers. Sometimes it might be student engagement. We encourage our kids to find a fit in our schools. We have a lot of activities for a small school here. We try to get kids involved. And we're hoping one of the things is a sense of belonging at Chisholm. While we're small, there are still kids that are maybe have a lack of friends, maybe have a lack of a belonging, maybe they don't have a good relationship with any adults. So we'll try to recognize those things, and we will do things, try to get teachers to build relationships or even paraprofessionals to build relationships specifically with one kid over a course of a month so that they have a sense of belonging, they have something to look forward to. We try to recognize any academic challenges. Sometimes we might have a kid that, why is this student absent only 4th hour? But they're here every day, but they're absent 4th hour. Sometimes students play avoidance. So we try to recognize those things. And those are the types of things that the 4th hour teacher, you might not catch it for 2 weeks sometimes. They're taking their own attendance. They're not always chatting about a specific student and who missed school. The kid might go a week, sometimes 2 weeks, before we realize that student has skipped 4th hour 3 or 4 days per week. So sometimes this stuff slips through the cracks just because we're not always communicating at the high school level all the time. And the whole thing there is providing interventions and building relationships with students so we recognize how to help them. And the last part, which I've mentioned, is just improve our procedures, communicate with families daily in absences. We do send out, and we've done this for a long time, we do send out automated phone calls, and sometimes our secretaries will personally call the families to check on kids. Our attendance coordinator will also follow through with phone calls, but we do call families daily and make sure that we communicate that, yes, your student is absent, because sometimes at the high school level, they send their students to school, but they don't always get here. We have a lot of kids that walk to our school within town, so sometimes we are just communicating so they're aware too. I talked about the coding issues. The coding is how we mark students absent. And then just accountability and follow through on all our procedures and notification for absences and tardies is a big part of it too. Just we need to make sure that we are following through on our own policies. One thing I did want to show, I know that they asked for some data. We have 3 buildings in our district. Our youngest schools, our K-3 building is our Von Steffensrud. Their attendance has stayed about the same from last year till this year at 91.5%, which is pretty good. Our Chisholm Elementary School is our grades 4 through 6. They have improved attendance. They are up to 92% for the year so far, which is up 1% from a year ago. And I'm talking overall student attendance. And our high school is actually up about 2 percentage points, up from 89% to 91%. Now, I do want to clarify on the MDE report card that comes out each late summer, 2 years ago, we were at 52.2% consistent attendance. The consistent attendance is different than what I'm reporting here. Consistent attendance is what percentage of our kids have 90% attendance or better. 2 years ago, it was 52.2%. A year ago, 68, I believe it was 68%, I think 68.8% of our kids had consistent attendance. So we actually improved quite a bit from 2 years ago to a year ago. What I'm seeing is our overall attendance is still continuing to improve slightly, up, probably up about 1.5% from a year ago. That is not the same as consistent attendance, keep that in mind, but we are up slightly, so. I think that's about all I have, if you have questions.
Well, thank you, Superintendent. That's really encouraging to see or hear the data that you just provided us. I know when we were considering this pilot project, we looked around the state at schools who appeared to have attendance issues, and we were really intentional about the schools that we invited because we wanted to know the unique situation that was affecting attendance. And as you were saying that 91, 92, and 89, I'm like, why did we pick this school if they're doing so well? But you go back and recognize the fact that there was an issue, and obviously some of the work that and the strategies that you're putting in place are working. Just to sort of go back to what Senator Lang asked, what would you say is the top issue when it comes to getting students into school consistently? And you mentioned maybe a student that comes in 15 minutes late every day. Are they being dropped off by their parents? Are they having to walk or find their own transportation? But what would you say is maybe your top one or maybe two reasons for perhaps the past issues around attendance?
Yeah, well, first of all, we have the illnesses, the flu, and we got that going through our school right now. Usually happens after Christmas break. It's not too uncommon. And those are legit. Those are things that if you're throwing up, we don't want you here. And it's gone through our staff. We've had I shouldn't say bad. We had less than normal attendance for our staff and our students here the past, since Christmas break. It's kind of run through our school. We ran through one of our basketball teams, and they lost a couple of starters for a game. So those things are going to happen. I'm concerned about those things, but we know that's going to hit us every year. So I don't see that necessarily as a problem. What I see is, I think, and this is just talking with kids as a high school principal as they walk in the door, and myself and the secretary that we've had for quite a few years, we talk to the kids, what's going on? And the kids are honest. Well, I slept in today. I wasn't feeling that great. I think we have two issues. Number one, when we went through COVID, we were being told that if you have a sniffle, if you have a slight cough, to stay home. We were educating our parents and our students to stay home if we had the slightest symptom of COVID possibly. And I think we're fighting that a bit. And I think kids and families are staying home because of the fear of another type of COVID pandemic or spreading the flu, or other kids have it. So I think there's some of that. I think the other thing is, I think we are fighting the lack of discipline of just getting students here, in our case, here at Chisholm. I talk to students all the time. Every day I talk to students. And I keep reminding them, we got to get back to the discipline of things. I've had to fight it. I got 3 kids myself, and one of them would love to stay home every day from school. And sometimes we fight that, and the parents in that situation always win, of course. But I do see a sense of kids just not wanting to be in school at times. And I don't see the sickness and the illness or the medical appointments. I don't see that as being a problem. Those are things that families need to take care of. They shouldn't be in school. If they have appointments, those are going to take priority. If they're ill, if they're really sick and ill, yeah, they should probably stay home. I don't see that as a problem. I see, for us, I'm trying to get to the point of getting students disciplined, meaning they're here 5 days a week, even when they're tired. If they have a basketball game 2 hours away on a school night and they get home, they get back at midnight, I expect them to be back in school. Just as myself, I'm a basketball referee. I reffed 2.5 hours away one night. I was back at school on time the next day. Yes, I was tired. I think a big part of it for us is the discipline of being here and also educating parents, again, re-educating them. And this is not their fault. This is not a blame thing. That we need to educate them that if you have a sniffle or a cough, yes, you can come to school. We want you to be here. We will let you see the nurse. The nurse will decide whether or not you go home. So I think that is our two issues. And yeah, sometimes kids just don't want to be here. So I would like to get back to the discipline of being here 5 days a week.
Thank you. Any questions? Senator Farnsworth.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Mr. Morrison, and I do want to give a plug out to, as a proud CHS graduate, thank you for representing us well. I do have a few questions. So you mentioned the statistics, the increased attendance. I am wondering though, because you mentioned that you are doing a better job of attendance tracking. For example, if a student has gone at track all day at, maybe in previous years, they were accidentally listed as absent. And I'm wondering, those increases in the attendance percentages, is that totally more students attending, or is part of that due to the fact that you have better record keeping?
It's probably a bit of both. In this case, it would be because the attendance is better because it doesn't include spring statistics. This is September through January 20th, first semester for last year, first semester for this year. So that statistic itself is better. I think we've been cognizant a little bit of that the past year or so. Anyhow, I think we're just doing a better job of it this year overall. So, but as far as the fact that we're up probably 1.5 points on percentage-wise this year, that's comparable to exactly the same dates as last year. So I would say it's up. We don't have a lot of teams leaving early. I think there's a slight. I would agree with you, Senator Farnsworth. There is probably a slight combination of the both, with the fact that we're tracking it better, if that makes sense.
Thank you. More question?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. And then, of course, my other question is the same one that I asked the last testifier. Is your, the way you track attendance, is it different than the last testifier? So they had, if they miss more than 3 periods in secondary, then that's a full day absent, and in elementary, if they miss for the entire day, that's an absentee. Just wondering if you report absences differently than what we heard from the first testifier?
No, and I wrote that down so I have it, but I kind of know it anyway because I've been here long enough. So thank you for the question. We actually track it by the hour at the high school level. We're on a 7-period day. So if a student, and I've done this for years as a principal too, if a student misses first hour 7 times by law, they can technically be truant, and then we would follow our procedures and policies on that. So that is not a change in our case. Our elementary schools, we go AM and PM attendance. So we take attendance twice a day at the elementary schools. What has changed a little bit is, like I mentioned earlier, the tardies. I've always felt that if a student has missed 10 minutes of class out of a 48-minute class period, they should be marked absent. But we have changed that. I've lightened up a little bit on that. So if a student is marked tardy, but they end up showing up for class a few minutes in, we do mark them present, but we mark them tardy. So that, I don't know if that's made a significant difference on our attendance percentages or not, but we do give a little bit more leeway to the tardies. And keep in mind that if they have so many tardies to a class, every 7 tardies equals 1 unexcused absence by law. So we do follow through on that too. I think part of it for me is the accountability to kids and parents and ourselves to follow the procedures correctly.
Thank you. Any follow-up? I do have a question from what you just said. You do attendance twice a day in elementary. Can you tell me why you do that?
Probably why? Probably because that's the way it's been done forever, I guess.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if I have a better answer than that. I didn't touch on this. Sometimes kids will have appointments. We encourage our parents to have appointments on the ends and the front and the end of the day if
Okay.
possible. So a lot of times if they get here, we start our day at 8:18. If they get here at 9 o'clock, we'll count them present for the morning. I think 9 o'clock is a cutoff. And then our lunchtime is pretty early for the elementary kids. It starts at 11 o'clock. And then, yeah, I guess I don't know why we've done it in
Okay.
Chisholm like that forever. I don't have a good answer for you, but I did want to throw in the fact that when we count it between a tardy and when it becomes an absence
Yeah.
would be about 40 minutes into the day, so
Okay, thank you.
you're welcome.
Well, thank you so much for joining us here today, and I'm glad to hear that things are looking up there. And we'll continue to do the work that we can down here to help you all out. Next, we are going to hear from Angie McAndrews from the Rochester Public Schools. If you'd like to join us, state your name and you can begin.
Good morning, committee members, and thank you for inviting me to testify here this morning regarding the pilot that we're working on presently. I'm Angie McAndrews. I'm the Director of Student Engagement and School Climate for Rochester Public Schools. Emma, you can go to the next slide. I first wanted to just address maybe the serendipity of the parallel between what we had identified as a key initiative for Rochester Public Schools and the state attendance pilot coming together kind of at the same time. So our key initiative was to develop and begin to implement a comprehensive strategy to reduce chronic absenteeism, and around the same time this pilot came to us with the intention of developing and implementing innovative strategies to improve attendance, and so the alignment was perfect. It was appreciated that the study group had been asking for input, and I believe that they have captured many of the concerns that we have identified, and the recommendations that they've put forward have, I think will have a significant impact on the attendance work that we're doing in the state. I also have enjoyed the flexibility to do what meets our needs. So while you've heard from Chisholm and Columbia Heights, we have some similarities with the work that they're doing and some differences, and I think the flexibility within the pilot has been very helpful to us. You can go to the next slide. So I first wanted to set the stage for kind of our starting point. Between July, when we started the pilot, and December, I wanted to cover a few things that we have tackled as a district. The first, we did a pretty substantial review of our data. We looked at our internal calculations and the calculations done by the Department of Education. We have looked at, especially investigated some of the time gap in terms of the reporting of the data that's reported to the public. We also looked at different codes and calculations between schools and broader differences across districts in terms of how those codes are interpreted and calculated. We appreciate the recommendations of the study group addressing many of the concerns that we have observed. I have said many times that when you look at the consistent attendance rate from one school to another, they are not apples to apples in comparison, and so it's hard to be able to make those side-by-side deductions and the information that you're seeing. We also did an audit of our internal attendance codes. We have simplified and combined some codes and made sure that we have consistency across our buildings. That had not been the case previously. We made enough significant changes that we felt like it was important for us to recode our system over winter break. So while I would like to be able to share with you some impactful data in this moment, we are coming off the heels of making those updates over our winter break and still interpreting the data that we have that we've generated for the past year. We've also spent time creating a dashboard that would give us a real-time view of the consistent attendance concerns that exist within our district, and specifically our chronically absent students being identified more consistently and more regularly, more timely. We have made sure that our dashboard includes two different things that the superintendent from Chisholm just spoke about, and that would be the identification of what the average attendance rate is and what the consistent attendance rate is. Those two things are very different. And so it has been important for all of our folks that are working on attendance in our buildings to understand the difference and the importance of the difference between those two. We've also taken time in our dashboard to disaggregate by various factors, including grade, gender, special education, 504 services, ethnicity, and such. to make sure that we can identify what the attendance rates are and if we see any patterns for specific groups of students. We've also created categorical lists of students in different bands. So our kids that are attending 96 to 100% of the day, who we should really be encouraging to continue that type of practice, the 91 to 95% attendance rates, and looking for early interventions for those students. The 81 to 90% kids we really consider to be chronically absent, and those that are attending less than 80%, which we find to be a chronic concern. Then we looked at our processes, and we've worked really hard to make sure that our attendance teams are functioning at the same level in all of our buildings. So like the assistant superintendent from Columbia Heights mentioned, we do have functional attendance teams in all of our buildings meeting on a bi-weekly or weekly basis. We found the attendance concerns at our secondary are more significant, so those teams meet on a weekly basis. At the elementary, less so, and it feels easier to get our hands around the problems at the elementary level, so they meet bi-weekly. We also have created standards for the compositions of those teams for purposes of making sure that our attendance is not siloed. We've asked our teams to talk about the behavior and academics at the same time that they're discussing attendance, and including people like our social workers, our counselors, and other student support folks to be part of the conversation. We have also standardized the way that we take attendance, and actually this would be a good opportunity to address Senator Farnsworth's question. So for secondary schools, we take attendance by period, as the superintendent from Chisholm also mentioned. So if a student is absent for a period, that would be 1/7, that they have missed 1/7 of the day. And if they have missed 6 periods, they would still be given credit for attending 1/7 of the day. At our elementary level, I would actually say our elementary teachers take attendance once a day. They would take it at the beginning of the day, and then our clerical staff or office staff really help to make updates to attendance throughout the day if that changes. So if a student comes late or if a student leaves early, they would make the correction to that. But the attendance is calculated AM and PM, and I think mostly that has been our practice because elementary students are typically with the same teacher or the same homeroom teacher throughout the day. So instead of having a period schedule, they have a homeroom schedule. The way that we calculate the attendance for elementary, so would either be 0, 50, or 100% attending, depending on if they were there the full morning, the full afternoon, or missed all of it together. And the way that we code that would be if a student is tardy, we would mark it tardy if they missed less than an hour in the morning or an hour in the afternoon. We'd mark them absent if they missed more than an hour in the morning or an hour in the afternoon. We have, I think now I lost my spot since I stopped to go to that. Will you go back to the last slide? So we were working to understand our data and make sure that we have a clearer picture. We then documented what the concerns were and the inconsistencies so that we made sure that we were functioning on the same page, and so we created a handbook that all of our schools function under to make sure of that consistency. And then we've shared that handbook and asked for input from not just our administrators, social workers, counselors, and attendance teams, but also the clerical staff who have a very, very important role in taking and keeping our attendance clean. And then the last piece that we included with our processes was how we respond to truancy when we see the chronic attendance issues happen. So we have a close working partnership with our county, and they have been really great in helping us kind of navigate when students would be referred for truancy at the secondary level, and a process by which we would ask the county for support for families in need for students who are under age 12. So far, the things that we really have identified have been improvements for us are significant improvements in communication and our practices, the functionality of the teams that we have in place, and consistent coding and calculations across the district. I will offer the caveat that even though we have consistent coding and calculation at the district, that is not true across the state. So the data that you see in Rochester is not comparable to the data that you see in other districts. All right, you can go to the next slide.
Senator Lang, you have a question?
I think so.
Oh.
So I'm sorry, I hate to interrupt.
Oh, no, you're okay.
I'm new to this committee, and this is, Senator Swazinski and I were sitting here chatting, and I'm still, not any blame on the school districts by any means, but is there really not a standard system of taking attendance? I've heard a couple different methods, or does the Department of Ed not have a guideline on how to take attendance? I mean, all the data that we're sharing here really doesn't mean anything if it doesn't start from a point of consistency
Commonality, yeah.
throughout
Yeah.
the whole department. What are we talking about?
I mean, there
You
are
know what I
guidelines
mean?
around the statutes, but how the individual districts do it is a little, is different.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that we've been able to, shake to the.
Everybody's shaking
I
their
know,
head in the
shake to
audience.
the surface. You can't compare apples and oranges.
Yeah, I did hear you say that, and I appreciate that. It's just, it seems like we gotta start from a point of,
You should put yourself in the position of the school district official responding to attendance numbers compared to other districts when they don't compare.
well,
Yeah.
and that-
That's a very difficult position.
or even as we've sat through and heard Columbia Heights talk about an 80% goal, and
Yeah.
Chisholm was, they're 10 points higher than you guys are. What are they doing different? Is it a demographics issue? Is it a parents issue?
I think that when the superintendent
I'm
from
throwing a bunch
Chisholm
out
was presenting, he was talking about 80 to 90% being their daily attendance rate. That is different than the consistent attendance rate. So the consistent attendance rate is the percentage of students who are attending 90% or more of the time. So in many cases, districts have 50, 60, 70% of their students that are attending 90% of the time or greater. And if a school district, say for example, their average attendance rate is 85%, that tells you a good percentage of their students are below that consistent attendance rate. So those two numbers are not the same, the average attendance and the consistent attendance rate. So I think, and the superintendent from Chisholm had explained that their daily attendance rate was that the 90%, but their consistent attendance rate had been, I think maybe he said like 58 and then went to 68 or something like that. So those two numbers are very different. And I think that you would see that consistent attendance rates are a significantly lower number than the average daily attendance for schools.
Thank you. And I think that's one of the things that we're realizing from this pilot program, that we need to be able to compare the same numbers, the same statistics, the same data across the board. So hopefully this will be one of the
Yes.
very best outcomes from this pilot project. Okay, you can continue.
So we actually spent a lot of time trying to build our background understanding about how the numbers are calculated, what types of programs are working, what the successes have been, and kind of studying the successes of other people. So we worked with Attendance Works, Everyday Labs, CASA K-12, the Network for College Success, Partnering for Student Success, and even reached out to Tulsa Public Schools at the recommendation of one of those organizations, just to get a better idea of what direction we really needed to go as a district. Although we are 6 months or one semester into this pilot right now, we really felt like we needed to have our feet solidly beneath us before we were able to proceed forward with a plan for how to use our pilot dollars. So based on the visits with those potential partners, we have created the dashboard, our communication protocol, some retention practices, and are putting in place some interventions. Then we decided it was important for us to broaden our input, not just from people that were experts in this area, but who in the community might be able to partner and support us. So we have partnered with our student school board, who is leading a focus group through the YPAR, which is the Youth Participatory Action Research, and that's led by our district youth empowerment coordinator and one of our school board members. We also have a local organization called Cradle to Career, and they are working on a co-pilot program right now for On Track, looking at graduation rates. And given our most significant attendance concerns happen at the secondary, we feel like that On Track work is very critical to make sure our ninth graders are off to a good start. And then we also have been participating in truancy summits with our county partners and our county attorney's office to make sure that we're aligned in what we see as the common practices, the spirit of the law, and the way that we're intervening to try to provide support for families. You can go to the next slide. So we, instead of focusing on student-facing work, we have decided as a district that we have a really important need to rework our internal system for attendance. That includes norm setting, our proactive and reactive communication, our data monitoring, our interventions, and then our responses specifically to chronic absenteeism, including to push on our retention. One thing that has not been mentioned, but that we have seen a pretty significant concern about is the 15-day drop rule in Minnesota. And so we've identified a number of things that we want to focus on at the system level. I think part of that is because we see that we have a broader issue that, and that adult work is what we have the most control over. The other reason for that is that we're very aware that the pilot is a 3-year time span, and we need to build our capacity to carry this work forward once those pilot dollars are gone. So for that reason, we focused very steadily on our systems work instead of our student-facing work at the primary. So if you go to the next slide, we'll talk about our pilot in action. So our intention is to hire 2 different positions to help get our systems pieces in place with the intention of building a sustainable model from the building level. The attendance coordinator position will help us coach our teams and processes, create and maintain the data dashboard, making it actionable for teams, monitor our district level data, and be a conduit between county and the state regarding attendance. The coordinator will also create a campaign for communication, and that would be communication with families, with students, as well as the broader community. One of the lessons that we learned from our time visiting with Tulsa was that their outreach and support from the broader community has been very significant in the success that they're seeing in turning around their attendance in that very large and growing district. The retention specialist position will help us create systems for proactive response to students who are nearing the 15-day drop, building capacity for each of our schools to address the concerns early and head on, so that the intention is that we have a process to intervene before kids get to that 15-day drop mark. We'll also be sending a team to the National Freshman Success Institute to help us understand models for freshman success. It's a response to our lowest attendance numbers existing in our high schools, and recognizing the strong start is an important piece for the success of our 9th graders. We also are recognizing through the attendance coordinator and the retention specialist the importance of building capacity for our practitioners. So as I mentioned, those teams include social workers, counselors, administrators, and other support staff. And our intention is for them to be able to be more effective and efficient in their student-facing work. So while these positions help us advance our system, the intention is to create that efficiency and effectiveness in the building, and so that we can make sure that they're focusing on the right kids. So we're excited about the potential that this brings and are looking forward to sharing our success with you along the way. I'd be happy to take any questions you have.
Any questions, members? Well, it looks like you have your arms wrapped around this pilot program, and appreciate the way you've organized it so well, recognizing that it's not always just the students and the families that contribute to it, but also, the systems that we've set up. And we, just as Senator Lang pointed out, everybody's not collecting that data or presenting the data in the same way, which can really make a difference as well. So thank you very much. I was really excited to hear about this youth empowerment coordinator. Can you just say just a few things about that?
Sure. The idea between the YPAR initiative is that it's student-led research. And so our student school board members have been selected at each of the high school buildings. They work regularly with our student school board, or our school board members to advise them on things that are concerning. And sometimes those things are behaviors that they see within the school, but we really brought the attendance idea to them to say, can you help us understand from the student lens the reasons that prohibit kids from coming to school? And I think one of you guys had asked the question about the reasons for kids not attending. And I think that we see, if you looked at our straight data based on the codes that we use, it would probably say health. But when we talk to kids, they say things like, I stayed up too late online, I'm unmotivated to be here, there are continuing mental health issues that have been unaddressed, the just significant lack of engagement. And those things they aren't coded as that in our attendance system. So it's hard when you ask the question, what are the reasons? They come out in these very simplified codes that we use within the attendance system, but we're hoping that research with the student school board members will really help us draw a better understanding of the reasons that kids are absent as chronically as they are, and what kinds of things we as adults could do to make a difference for student success.
Great, that's wonderful. It's great to have the the youth voice in all of this, considering. All right, well, thank you ever so much. Oh, Senator Farnsworth, you had a question?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I was a few minutes late and I maybe missed this, but are we not hearing from Minneapolis today or are they here?
We heard from them.
Okay, I was late. I must have
Oh,
missed
no,
that.
we did not hear from them.
Actually, Minneapolis gave you the introduction kind
Yeah.
of overview
Yeah,
of
so
the
we have
pilot,
that.
correct?
I just, if we're done with testifiers, then I want to make my comments before we get to the next bill. So, so if Minneapolis isn't coming, can I just make a few comments? I thought Columbia Heights went first.
Nope, Minneapolis
Oh, yeah,
did their
okay, I was
overview.
late. Okay, I apologize. All right.
Mark, you tardy?
So I didn't get to ask. I didn't get to ask about the way they count attendance, but I was sort of building this up, and then Senator Lang stole my thunder by bringing this up. So thank you for that, Senator Lang. I think when we look at attendance, we have to actually know the data is accurate. And so of the three that I asked, I mean, they're all a little bit different from each other. And so we're saying, okay, there's maybe an attendance problem here and it's not as bad here. We don't really know because we're not counting it the same. And I think that's something that we probably have to work on. I mean, we're giving, schools, we're investing between, $8,000 and $15,000 per student per year. And I think a simple expectation should be you have to count students the same way so that we know that we're paying, Chisholm and Columbia Heights and Minneapolis and Rochester for the same hours of education. And so I think, and that's why I was asking that question, I think that's something we probably, as a result of that working group, should look at. And then the other comment that I have, and I'm glad most of the testifiers alluded to this, kids are gone because they're sick. I mean, I had my son earlier in the year was gone for a whole week because he had something, and if you have a fever and you're throwing up, you don't go to school. We don't argue with sicknesses, but I was glad to hear a lot of the testifiers saying, well, they were too tired and didn't get out of bed. And that's what I hear when I talk to counselors, when I talk to principals. The number two reason isn't a lot of these other reasons. It's that kids are up playing video games all night, and for whatever reason, they're not getting out of bed and they're not getting to school. I don't know how to solve that. I mean, in my own home, my kids have a bedtime. Even the high school kids in my house have to at least be in their room. I don't know how to solve that, but we at least have to face the reality that it's not all mental health. Yes, there's mental health. It's not all sickness. But there are a lot of kids that are playing, I don't know what games they play, Warcraft or whatever, until 4 a.m, and they're just too tired to go to school. And we really have to stop trimming around the edges, and we have to say, this is a problem. And I don't know the solution to that, but I'm glad that a couple of the testifiers mentioned that, because I hear that more than anything. Other than sicknesses, when we talk about actual real truancy problems, I hear that from teachers and counselors more than anything. It's just kids are up screwing around on Facebook or whatever, TikTok, whatever they're doing. So then they're too tired for school. So thank you to those that mentioned that, because I think that's something that too often gets left unsaid because we don't want to, make it sound like mental health problems aren't as important. And frankly, the social media and all of this time on the internet, it's exacerbating the mental health problems. So those are my comments, kind of not really very clear probably, but thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. So you had no question for Ms. Cable from Minneapolis?
Thank you. Well, I could ask, how do you count attendance? Because then we could have 4 for 4 that are all different.
Which they are. And so in Minneapolis, for our elementary students, if they arrive 1 hour or more late in the morning or leave 1 hour or more before the end of instruction, they're a half-day absent. 2 half-days equal a full day. At the secondary level, 2 periods are a half-day, and 4 periods or more are a full day. And 2 halves equal a whole as well there. And I will say, we were speaking when you first asked the question, or I guess about what's the number one reason. Our number one reason for excused absences is illness, and that is what it is. But our number 2 reason is unexcused absences, and the absences, the reason varies, but number 1 is sleep deprivation. When we sit down one-on-one and we speak with a student and ask what's going on, they're exhausted. I'm tired. They're off schedule. I've been up all night. A lot of times it's social media, it's gaming, but sometimes it is something like, I'm home alone and I'm afraid to go to sleep. You know, somebody, there isn't an adult in the home, or there are adults in the home, but I'm nervous. So the reasons vary greatly, but a lot of it has to go around the reason of sleep deprivation.
Thank you. All right, done? Okay. We're just going to take a little change in our schedule to allow Senator Weber to present his bill, and then we'll come back to Mr. Nigro to give us a little update on the entire pilot project. Just for the committee's information, we're going to lay over Senate File 133 today. And Senator Rarick, would you like to move Senate File 133 before the committee?
So moved.
Thank you. Senator Weber, I believe you have an A1 amendment.
That is correct, Madam Chair.
Would you like to speak to your amendment?
Thank you. It's my understanding this amendment was actually brought to me by the chair regarding the issue of attendance that's been worked on in committee today. And if we go through the A1 amendment, what you will see is that, helps if I turn to the right page. If you go to the first page of the A1 amendment, the item that was added is on lines 1.16 and 0.17, an individual not included in item I whose work duties primarily consist of activities that reduce chronic student absenteeism. As I understand, there are some districts that do have a person who is retained in order to coordinate the monitoring of those individuals who may chronically be absent, working with the teachers and to find out information. As you go through the rest of the bill, Madam Chair and members, attendance is added in a spot or two, and when we get down to lines 2.26 through 2.29, that was the original part of my bill. And what basically this does is that it allows money that was provided for in the previous or in the current budget for student support services to be spent additionally for necessary transportation among school sites, for student support services personnel, training for student support services personnel, or technology upgrades for the same individuals. And Madam Chair, was the amendment actually introduced with that last motion?
Senator Rarick, would you also like to move the A1?
Yes, I will move the A1.
All right. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just to go on to my discussion concerning this, I brought this bill actually up last year because in visiting with representatives of Southwest West Central Education Co-op, which serves my area. They actually serve 18 counties, schools in 18 counties in Southwest West Central Minnesota. They brought up the issue that money that had been allowed for the retaining of additional student services personnel, student support services personnel, limited it to the salary itself. And their comment was this: there was enough money provided for that they could hire 20 additional people. The problem is, number one, there aren't 20 additional people to hire, but they couldn't afford to hire 20 additional people because the only way that they could spend the money that was allocated was for salaries, period. Serving 18 counties, their second largest cost is transportation, to pay for these individuals to travel from school to school. The 18 counties, I never sat down and figured it out, but the 18 counties that probably has a widest distance at any point of somewhere between 100 and 150 miles from one end to the other. And they're located, Southwest West Central Education Co-ops are located somewhat midpoint, but still, they're looking at oftentimes at between 100 and 150 mile round trip in order to go out and visit the schools that they have to visit. In addition, a lot of times there's additional training that are needed, and when they bring somebody on board, they also have to provide, computer technology and this type of thing. And I know, quite frankly, last year there were concerns by the department. They didn't want this to be spent for normal supplies and what have you, and our curriculum. And so that's why this year we actually brought it back, tightened it up to just these three areas. And Madam Chair, members, I do have individuals who, some who wish to testify by Zoom, and others. So with that, Madam Chair, you may go to them.
Thank you so much, Senator Weber. First on our list is Dr. Amber Bruns, and she's here by Zoom. If you'd like to turn your volume on, introduce yourself, and you may begin.
Good morning, Chair and members of the committee. Thank you for allowing me to speak with you today. My name is Dr. Amber Bruns. I am the Clinical Director of Behavioral Health Services at Southwest West Central Service Cooperative, as Senator Weber said, providing services in Southwest Minnesota. I am here today to extend our support of Senate File 133 to expand these allowable uses of our student support personnel aid. As a service cooperative dedicated to providing essential resources and student support to rural school districts, we see this bill as a crucial step towards addressing the diverse and growing needs we experience in rural Minnesota. We agree that this legislation recognizes the critical role of student support personnel, these school counselors, psychologists, social workers, nurses, and chemical dependency counselors in fostering a safe, inclusive, and nurturing learning environment for students. By expanding the scope of allowable uses for this funding, the bill ensures that cooperatives have the flexibility to respond effectively to pressing challenges, including mental health crises, academic disparities, student health needs, and other barriers to student success. Without these proposed changes, these funds remain bound by limitations that challenge us to work in a meaningful, student success-driven manner. The use of expanded funds allow us to prioritize retention and stability of these essential positions, as well as reducing the distraction of determining expenditure coverage so that we are able to focus solely on our students. It is critical for retention and recruitment, particularly in our area, to expand the use of these funds to be able to provide necessary and needed professional development, to continue to keep our student support providers up to date, current on best practices, and supporting the complex mental health and physical health needs of our students across the region. By ensuring we can access and deploy these resources, this bill reinforces the importance of shared services in optimizing efficiency and equity across all regions, even our rural areas. Beyond salary and benefits, our most significant expenditure includes transportation costs due to the support we provide in a large geographical area, as Senator Weber alluded to. And some of the written statements that our team of student support personnel aid staff provided for you today, they describe traveling up to, on average, 1,000 miles per month or more to provide these essential services. This amount of travel poses a significant expense for us that we must have plans and the funds to support. In addition, our technology expenses per employee average approximately $2,200 for each new staff hired. Again, this is a necessary and needed expense to support these staff, but expanding the use of these funds to minimize our transportation, professional development, and technology expenses allows us to continue to focus on our students and their needs versus navigating how to handle additional expenses that cannot be funded through these means. As a service cooperative, we work closely with member districts to meet their operational and educational needs. We have witnessed firsthand how limitations on funding flexibility can hinder our ability to provide comprehensive support services. The expanded use of this aid empowers us to make strategic, localized decisions that best serve our students and communities. Please also take the time to review the written testimony of my esteemed colleagues Morgan Litzaw, Greg Scheidel, and Danielle Brandt provided for you today to gain additional perspectives from the lens of our essential student support personnel providers. In conclusion, this bill represents an investment in the well-being and academic success of Minnesota students. By supporting Senate File 133, you affirm the state's commitment to fostering equitable opportunities, ensuring that every student has access to the support they need to thrive, no matter where they live. Again, thank you for your leadership and consideration of this critical proposal. Southwest West Central Service Cooperative urges you to approve this bill and pave the way for a brighter future for our Minnesota's children. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak with you today.
Thank you, Dr. Bruns. Next, we will hear from Dr. Noel Schmidt, and he is here. And after that, Jeff Burgess, Superintendent Jeff Burgess, then Julia Messenger, then Kali Moreau, and finally, Caitlin Snyder. Please introduce yourself and you may begin.
Thank you. My name is Noel Schmidt. I'm the superintendent of the Rockridge Schools. I drove 450 miles for this. That's how important this is. I used to work in White Bear Lake Schools, so I understand the rural and the urban. I understand it works a little bit differently, plays out a little bit differently. First of all, Rockridge, if you ever get a chance to drive up north, it'll blow your minds. We are doing where education is going for the future as far as facilities programs. I'm not making that up. Drive up north and see where the future of education is. However, that's not why I'm here. I'm here to talk about three things. These are important, and I'm going to put the focus on rural schools because that's where I am right now. The three things we're talking about here are transportation, training, and technology. Here's why it's important. On the transportation end, we have counselors that are going back and forth from building to building. This is not a situation in many rural schools where these folks, psychologists, whatever, are able to stay in one building and not move and the kids come to them. That's not how it works. So even though the same dollars are provided, in the rural area, these folks are moving and losing time. They're losing time, but we also have to get them from point A to point B somehow. That, we lose time, and somebody's paying this mileage reimbursement. But let me say, we love you for the $40,000. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So the transportation is a serious issue. The other thing is the training. The training for the types of folks we're talking about, it is not the same as a classroom teacher. So when you see staff development days coming up, we can't put our counselors, social workers, school psychs in the same room as the other teachers and expect them to do the exact same thing. It's not the same thing. They're not in a classroom instructing 25, 30 kids. Theirs is a different approach. They need different training. And so what we're asking for is just, we're not asking for more money. We're just saying, let us use some of these funds differently. So for our unique needs, we can take care of some of the issues we're having here. That would help greatly. Lastly, the issue of technology. I know this isn't a big expense item, but when you're in some schools we're good, but speaking on behalf of some other rural schools, thousands here or there, we're looking for it. We're looking under sofas. We're looking in the basketball gym. We're looking all over the place for this money. Give us some help and let us have a little bit of flexibility so we can help update some of the technology, software training that our counselors, social school psychs, and other individuals are using. Thank you.
Thank you so much for driving all those miles, Superintendent, to share that with us and the commitment that you have to your staff and your students. Next, we have Jeff Burgess from Mesabi East School. If you would like to turn on your volume and introduce yourself, and you may begin.
Yeah, good morning, committee members, and thank you for having me here today to testify on this bill. I appreciate the adjustments to the bill to allow attendance support and other expenses. We would also appreciate an adjustment to allowing these funds for positions that have or could be eliminated. As Mr. Schmidt, said that we need flexibility with some of these funds, and that's the case for Mesabi East as well. Part of the law is that you have to go above the start of the 22-23 school year. And so giving Mesabi East an example, I had one school nurse, one social worker, and one school counselor at the start of that. During the 23 and 24 school year, I had to move to one counselor, a half-time nurse, and a half-time social worker. This year, we've had to reduce those further to one counselor, 1 day a week nurse, and 0 social workers. In order to access the funding for student support personnel aid, I have to be above the amount of positions I had at the start of the 22-23 school year. This means access for funding for the nurse. I have to hire the original nurse, plus go above that. The language in the bill states that funding can be used for positions to maintain a position that would otherwise be eliminated. Unfortunately, districts have not been able to use this funding for positions to maintain a position that would otherwise be eliminated. With that, looking at my district, I don't need 2 school nurses. It would be nice. I don't need 2 social workers. I need 1, and I can't access the funding at this point because I would have to hire 2 in order to access the 40,000. So I appreciate the adjustments to the bill. I'd also appreciate considerations to allowing us to access those funds to maintain a position that would otherwise be eliminated. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your perspective on that, Superintendent. Next, we have Julia Messenger, social worker with the Social Workers Association. And if you would like to introduce yourself and begin.
Good morning, Madam Chair and committee members. My name is Julia Messenger. I'm a region representative for the Minnesota School Social Workers Association and a licensed clinical social worker. I have 16 years of experience in school social work and have worked with early childhood, elementary, middle, and high school students in general education, special education, and alternative settings. My message to this committee is that student attendance is a complex issue requiring coordination of multiple resources, supports, and interventions, as we shared today. Expanding the school support personnel funds into other staffing needs, as proposed in Senate File 133, would dilute the resources and hurt our efforts to address the complex needs that students present related to their attendance. Student support personnel have been connected to this work for many years, and we're licensed professionals with expertise to address the complexity of chronic absenteeism. And care coordination is key, as we're working with MDE to ensure that best practices are in place, and for all these staff, with sustainability of these practices. MDE has offered trainings for student support personnel and professional development at no additional cost to these programs. Attendance is a symptom of a larger need within a family system, and some reasons that we're seeing students struggle with attendance include unmet mental health and/or chemical health needs, childcare of those younger siblings, school avoidance due to peer or academic stressors, housing instability, and parental mental and chemical health needs, along with many others, as each family has individual lived experiences. Each of these factors can be best supported by a team of licensed professionals with specific skill sets and established relationships with those students and families. Sometimes this means holding space for some difficult conversations with guardians or with children around their bedtime, their lifestyle habits, right? We talked a little bit about technology use and how do we use that relationship that we have with them to navigate some of those difficult teaching opportunities and conversations around boundaries with routine and sleep deprivation. For example, in my role, when a student has attendance concerns, our attendance team, a school nurse, administrator, myself, and when possible, an American Indian education advisor or a cultural liaison, we meet together to team and share our unique lenses and determine the best response for the needs of that student and family. In one case, I made multiple calls to a parent in distress as she described her difficulty in sending her daughter to school. She feared that she'd be losing guardianship of her child. Her 4th grade daughter refused to get out of bed and refused to attend school. She was feeling overwhelmed with her untreated mental health needs. And her daughter refused to get in the car to go see the doctor, as her mental health symptoms were intense, and as they worsened, she felt paralyzed in fear and unable to advance in any way. When the Indian education advisor and myself did a home visit to connect with mom on attending school, we were able to connect her with County Children's Mental Health Services. We made the referral right there together. We called together. We called the pediatrician together and completed a release of information so that we could continue to connect as a school system and support staff with her therapy and her outside treatments. As we continued to increase her attendance and those presenting symptoms decreased, and as progress was made once treatment began. This intervention was successful for this family because of the interdisciplinary team approach. And when attendance is related to complex needs, including mental and physical health, it's essential that we preserve this funding so that the proper staff are on hand for those referrals. School support personnel are a team of licensed professionals with the skills to respond to unique circumstances that impact attendance. And while it's tempting to expand limited resources to address other needs, social workers and other school support personnel urge you to keep these resources focused on its original purpose, preserving the staff needed to address the complex needs of our students. Make the adjustments necessary to ensure this funding works for schools, but do not dilute it by opening it to a broad array of licensed and non-licensed staff. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Messenger. Next, we have Callie Moreau, and then Caitlin Snyder, if you'd like to join us at the desk. We do have somebody else to present, Mr. Nigro, around the Legislative Coordinating Commission, so if we could make our testimony quick. And Callie, would you like to begin?
Yes, good morning, and thank you, Chair Kunish. It's nice to see you virtually again. Thanks for allowing me to testify today. My name is Callie Moreau, and I'm a licensed school counselor in White Bear Lake at Central Middle School. Hi, Dr. Schmidt. It's nice to see you too again. I am also currently serving as board chair for the Minnesota School Counselor Association, and today I am here on behalf of our association. Today, I want to speak in support of the original intent behind Senate File 133. And urge caution when considering expansions to its language. As a school counselor, I see firsthand the immense value of having licensed school support personnel like counselors, social workers, nurses, and psychologists in every building. These uniquely skilled professionals are vital to addressing the growing and complex physical, social, and emotional needs of our students. Minnesota has historically faced challenges in providing sufficient student support personnel in schools. For example, our state's student-to-school counselor ratio has consistently ranked among the worst in the nation, ranking at 47th or 48th out of 50 states over the past decade. However, the legislators' 2023 student support personnel funding marked a pivotal shift specifically aimed at increasing the capacity of these roles to more effectively support students statewide. Like any new bill or funding source, it takes time for accurate reporting and data to be collected on the outcome of these funds. I do not believe we can confidently say that we have all the data collected to start expanding the use of these funds to positions broadly related to attendance, specific professional development, and even for student support personnel transportation costs. While flexibility for districts is important, we must ensure that the funds remain focused on hiring licensed professionals who can address root causes like mental health challenges, ultimately improving student attendance and academic outcomes. I believe collectively we can work together to design and share with districts creative ways for them to utilize the funding as intended. Let's stay true to the bill's original purpose, to provide students with the robust support they need to thrive. I urge legislators to prioritize what's best for students by maintaining a clear focus on increasing the number of licensed student support personnel working in our schools. Together, we can ensure these resources make the greatest impact. Thank you, Chair Kunish.
Thank you so much. And next we have Caitlin Snyder from Education Minnesota.
Madam Chair and Mr. Chair, my name is Caitlin Snyder. I am a lobbyist with Education Minnesota. We represent 84,000 active, current, aspiring, and retired educators across the state. Just wanted to point out a couple of concerns that you might not have considered in today's testimony. Some of the job titles that we heard from the pilot sites were Dean of Students, Promise Fellows, AmeriCorps. In almost every school district, these are folks that are not going to be a part of the teacher bargaining unit, and they're not going to be a part of the non-licensed teacher bargaining unit. And what that means is that these folks are going to have less job security and less compensation than an ESP. This leads to high turnover in our schools. The number one predictor for academic success for our students is housing stability, but the number two predictor is having a strong relationship with someone in the building. So we want to incentivize long-lasting, stable relationships as much as possible. This due process and job security of being a member of the bargaining unit and having a contract also provides whistleblower protections and retaliation protections. So in these positions, we're looking for autonomous people who can help fight against a system, who can help make sure that that student is getting everything that they need. Like if they're having a bullying situation with someone, that they're getting the support that they need. I would encourage having these positions be, to have the job security and ethics review that our licensed professionals have. As we look at the conversation about amending the original uses of House File 8, there are a number of values that I would keep in mind. I think it's important to keep our licensed mental and physical health teams in our schools. Another part of this bill is that we are trying to raise the investment in these personnel. We're not trying to just backfill what has always been done. We're trying to raise the investment in the amount of services that are going to our students. Third, we want to focus on our students at all times. I've been in a number of conversations like this where I've heard, well, the business officials are saying this, or my superintendent is saying this, and many of these conversations are not focused on what the student needs are, and just keep that front and center. As the legislation is moving forward, we have the opportunity to review the quantitative and qualitative data about what's happening with this funding across the state. I urge the committee to take a look at that. For example, right now, if a co-op is not spending all of its money, it goes back to its member districts. So I want this money to be used for our students, but it might make more sense for that money to go back to the member districts than to have a school counselor driving a quarter of the state. And please keep educators in mind before making changes. If this committee does nothing to change the budget other than rubber stamp what was passed previously, the per pupil funding is going to increase $1.3 billion. Our funding for our multilingual learners is going to increase $171 million. And funding for our special education students is going to increase $820 million in the next biennium. So just keep this in mind as we look at how to keep this money most effective for our students. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Snyder. And Senator Rarick has a question or comment?
Just a comment, Madam Chair. I want to thank Senator Weber for bringing this forward. The gist of this bill, why you're bringing it forward, is because you've listened to folks who are on the ground trying to deal with our students and the issues that they have. And I think what happened, this funding that we provided to try to help, we put parameters around it that were so tight that many of our schools were unable to use it. And you listened to some of those folks and were saying, they're not trying to divert this or dilute the funds. They're trying to use it in a way to best help students within their districts. That's what we have heard over and over. I've heard it from two of my schools. The $40,000 wasn't enough for them to hire someone. Two schools went together to try to hire one part-time at each school. They still never even got an applicant. And now that money is going back. They don't get any of it. That's not helping any of the students in either of those schools. So if we can give them the flexibility they're asking for so that they can provide better services, I think this money is accomplishing what it was intended for. So again, I thank you, Senator Weber, for listening and bringing this forward.
Thank you, Senator Rarick. Senator Weber, any closing remarks?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Simply, I just wish to say that as we've listened to the testifiers today, I look at the original intent of this funding was to provide expanded student support services amongst our schools. But the narrow restrictions that were placed on it is actually keeping that from happening. And as we look, the statement was made, well, money can go back to the original school if it's not used. But as Senator Rarick pointed out, there's not enough money there for them to accomplish the hiring of those individuals that are necessary to provide the services. And so our education co-ops are going to be relied upon to a great extent, and our larger schools who are able to finance their own people need this money. I think as you look at, we've had rural, we've had metro testifiers here in regards to this bill. And so it's a need, I believe, that is statewide. And I thank you for allowing me to present this bill today.
Thank you so much, Senator Weber. And with that, Senate File 133 is laid over as amended for possible inclusion in a future omnibus. We have just a short amount of time here, but I would like to invite Nick Nigro to join us for a final presentation. He has been part of the working group or organizing it through the LLC. And if you'd like to give us a little bit of background and information on that, we would appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members. My name is Nick Nigro. I'm a nonpartisan research analyst with the Legislative Coordinating Commission, and I staffed the Student Attendance and Truancy Legislative Study Group. The study group was created to determine what role the legislature could play in lowering our currently high chronic absenteeism rate and ultimately improving upon the 15% chronic absenteeism rate pre-COVID. And to that end, the study group spoke with state agencies, tribal officials, counties, school boards, school administrators, parents, and students from across the state. With even bipartisan and bicameral membership, the study group agreed that a lot of possible solutions might only have partisan support, so winnowed its recommendations to maintain broad bipartisan support, both in the study group and heading into this session. The study group ultimately agreed there were 8 areas this legislature and committees like this one should explore for possible legislative action. First, likely unsurprising, is consistent definitions around attendance. As you've discussed, how an absence is defined can be different between neighboring school districts. And this muddied language makes it hard to talk about how precisely good or bad truancy rates are across the state. Absent defining in statute, the study group was hopeful that the student attendance pilot program will work with the Minnesota School Board Association to proliferate more uniformity on this front. The second recommendation was about coordination among state and local agencies. The study group sees that multiple agencies and organizations touch on this issue, MDE and DCYF, but also the Children's Cabinet and the Minnesota Youth Council. With these multiple groups, the study group hoped that they can act as partners and help report on the successful programs school districts are implementing to reduce truancy, and also act as messengers to spread successful ideas to other school districts. The third recommendation was about community engagement, particularly around school credit for cultural and lived experiences. This recommendation came out of conversations with tribal members who planned to pull their kids out of school for ricing season. Native students consistently have among the worst truancy rates, and that obviously has long and historic reasons that the study group wasn't designed to solve. But one small means of chipping away at that would be for schools to give credit for cultural activities like ricing. The study group did not come to any conclusion about whether changes should come from statute or should be encouraged to happen in local school districts. And the fourth recommendation was for MDE to explore increasing data on attendance. MDE provides limited data on student attendance rates, and the study group heard lots of interest in more data, such as breakdowns by age or by severity of truancy amounts. Providing this data would be extra work for the department, and having access to it would not magically lower truancy rates, but there was interest both from stakeholders and study group members in the department providing more data and more timely data. The fifth recommendation was to examine the laws around data sharing between school districts and counties. The study group heard multiple times about difficulties with data sharing due to both state and federal laws protecting students' data. The study group saw there could be an opportunity here to clarify statutory language in Chapter 13, so counties and county attorneys' offices can intervene earlier while still protecting students' data privacy. The sixth recommendation was about exploring school staff dedicated to reducing truancy. As you all know well, funding can quickly become a partisan issue, so including restrictions on how money can be spent. So the study group tried to steer towards a more bipartisan position that simply this is an important role various school staff take on and should be supported in some form or fashion by the legislature. The seventh recommendation was about exploring transportation to and from school. Getting kids physically to school is obviously a big piece of the puzzle, and the study group saw this as an area where state law about busing or Type 3 vehicles could be re-examined. And finally, the eighth recommendation was about exploring community support. Instilling an importance of school attendance across Minnesota is not an easy thing, but there's broad agreement that in the study group that we need to prioritize getting kids to school socially and culturally. And finally, the study group additionally recommended the bill in Appendix A of the report. I hope that's in your packets. The legislation does not create any new language. This bill would just bring the myriad of statutes that touch on this one issue into a single home. Representative Keeler, the chair of the study group, would probably like if I stressed again that the bill does not create new language. It just is ultimately a part of what the study group studied, how this complex web of statutes spanning multiple chapters make up our current attendance laws. Madam Chair, that is about as quick as I could get through that. I'm happy to answer questions if there's time.
Senator Swedzinski. And can I just mention that Senator Swedzinski, Senator Kroon, Senator Farnsworth, and I all sat on the pilot project, and it was a huge learning experience. So thank you for coordinating that as you have. Senator Swedzinski.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to also thank you for your work ethic during those hearings and your ability to just. It was during the summer and the fall, so thank you for that. I do have a question, though. I know we heard from 15, 20 student testifiers. It was a hit and miss. There were like 10 or 6 one day and then 3 or whatever. Can you summarize, or are you prepared to summarize maybe the takeaways for us legislators from those, or were those students' testimonies too hodgepodge, or was there a central theme behind their common testimonies, if, as you may recall? And if you don't, I appreciate that as well, because I'm asking because I don't recall. So thank you. And thank you, Madam Chair.
Yep. Mr. Nigro.
Madam Chair, Senator Swedzinski, I think my personal takeaway was a lot of the students talked about struggling with their own mental health. It seems like in the wake of COVID, I think there's just a lot of depression and anxiety that set in. And my personal takeaway was that during those years, it was easier to disengage from school because you could just shut a laptop. And now you are either wanted to avoid going to school or skipping class, and that was the best way of avoiding that.
Are you done? Okay. Senator Lucero, you had a question.
No question, just a brief comment. COVID was just mentioned, and I know we're past time, so I'll make this very fast. So one of the things that I was having discussion with the principal that I was speaking with, 3 weeks back, whenever we had principal for the day. And I asked the question, when, in your opinion, did you begin to see the absenteeism begin to increase? And he said the inflection point was COVID. And his hypothesis, and I'm just adding this out there as part of the conversation, was that during COVID, you had a lot of, obviously, adults and parents begin to work from home. So it began to create this mindset that working from home is the equivalent to working in the office. And there's a lot of dynamics around that, but I'm speaking to the interpersonal communication and interaction aspect of just humanity. And I am one of those, as a technologist, who doesn't believe that Zoom and Teams is an equivalent to in-person interpersonal communication. So especially when it comes to collaboration and learning, I think there's impact. So what he was suggesting was, because parents began to have this new paradigm shift, they then began to overlook some of the things when it came to their children working or going to school remotely and many of these other activities. And so I think that's a contributing factor, at least in the opinion of one of the principals in my community. COVID and the paradigm shift in all of society that we had of working remote and now educating remote is contributing to this absenteeism. Anyway, for whatever it's worth, as we continue these conversations, the dynamics in society have changed, and it's that those dynamics are and psychological mindset is permeating throughout, and I'm not sure that that's as beneficial as it's being promoted in many circles. So thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Senator Maquay, did you have a comment or question? Okay. Well, thank you ever so much for your patience with us today and for that quick report and the work that you've done. I'm sure we will be in contact in the future as well. Senator Maquay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And before we break today, I just, last night at like 10:30, we were sent into a federal government shutdown. And $39.84 billion of our state budget comes from the federal government, including about $2 billion in education. And so, I talked to my school district this morning, I talked to my county this morning, I'm reaching out to my cities. The word I'm hearing is 5-alarm fire. And so as, the next few hearings, like I don't know how we make a budget in this committee or in any committee until we understand what's happening. People are they're freaking out, right?
Yeah.
And so I really think that, our next hearing and next sets of hearings, we need to address this if we're gonna have a, 7.2% budget deficit in the education and a $39 billion deficit for our state budget. We should know what that is and where that's gonna go because we have some decisions to make.
Thank you so much. You are reading my mind. I had a very restless night last night thinking about what cuts were going to be coming, what grants, what programs are not going to be funded, and the short and long-term effects of that. And then the question of like, how the heck do we make a budget when we have no idea? And we don't know, we've got 4 more years of this. Is it going to be for 4 more years? Is this going to be, is there going to be some manipulations, strings attached to this? So how do we do this? I have no idea, but I think we have to become educated on our reliance to the federal government. And if those dollars that we have relied on for so long are not coming to us, how are we going to educate our children? How are we going to feed our children? How are we going to address those mental health needs for our students? So thank you for bringing that up and bringing some numbers to us, Senator Maquay, and I'm sure that will be part of our conversations. Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Senator Rarick will have the gavel on Wednesday, and just to remind you, there'll be no hearing on Thursday. And with that, this meeting is adjourned.